Hello. So I was going to make a few videos here today, just talking about a couple things. Some Nintendo, some PlayStation. And then I'm probably going to stream Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I haven't streamed that for a while. I have played it some more, just haven't streamed it. But pretty far in the game. Kind of forgot a few things that happened in the game, so I wasn't quite as far as I thought I was. But when I was thinking I was getting to like the last planet or something, I wasn't quite there yet because I had forgotten a few things. But I'm pretty sure that I have basically a boss fight left, and then I'll be there. But this video basically I was going to talk about the Nintendo Switch and its sales. So the Nintendo Switch after the last quarter, which would have been the end of 2020, as we always get reports of the previous quarter about a month after the quarter ends from the companies. They're not all on the exact same day though. Like Sony, they do their reports, I think, a couple days after Nintendo does theirs. But yeah, we got the Nintendo report. Switch is at 80 million sales. Now, the big thing about that is that the system, 80 million cells, and not even quite in 4 years. So I wonder, with it being at that many cells already, not even 4 years out, just how much will the Switch cells end at? When I look at that 80 million, I think that for the low bar, the Switch might end up at like 120 million, and that's a very low bar, actually. And the reason I say that is because PlayStation 4, in comparison, is at 115 million now after the last quarter. So you're talking about 35 million more. But PlayStation 4, you got to remember, came out in November, October, November. I think it was November of 2013. The Switch didn't come out till March of 2017. So the Switch has been out a lot less time. Basically, it took the Switch, like I said, 3 years, and it was like 10 months or something to reach 80 million. In comparison, PlayStation 4, which is so great, didn't reach 80 million until I believe it was 4 years and 5 months or something. So to get to 80 million, the Switch is like 7 months ahead. If you look at even further out, basically, I think it would take the Switch only needs, if you look at the 100 million mark, I think the Switch only needs in the next year and so many months, year and what was it? I think it was year and 6 months or something, to only sell 20 million. It's most likely going to do that just within around the next year. So it's probably going to reach 100 million quicker than PS5 did too. And it's when you look at Nintendo too, like the Switch, or if you look at the Switch compared to say the Wii ended at like 102 million or something, but it dropped off fast. Like even though it sold well, the Wii could have easily sold more like 110, 120 million if it didn't have a big drop off quick. And I don't see the Switch having a big drop off because one, it's not like a gimmick as much as I'd say the Wii, because the fact that you can play on a TV and on the go, I'd say is less of a gimmick than motion controls. So because of that, I don't see it dropping off as fast. Two, when you look at Nintendo and what they likely have, which I'm going to make another video about, kind of going into what Nintendo might have in Breath of the Wild 2 and some other things. But when you look at the Switch and the fact that it's only 20 million away from the 100 million, only 22 million or so behind the Wii, and only about 35 million behind PlayStation 4. Like I said, is outpacing it. But the big thing too with that is that when you look at this year's lineup and 2022 and whatnot, Nintendo still has some heavy hitters, and so that because of that too, I don't see the Switch dying off real quick. Which is why I think it's got at least 40 million more in the tank to get to 120, and that's lowballing because when you look at based off what Nintendo had last year, and then what they're likely to have coming out this year. This year, I think they're going to have a lot more big games. And so because of that, I think that will keep the Switch from falling off on sales. And the fact that the Switch hasn't really shown any signs of slowing down, even after PlayStation 5 came out at Xbox Series X. Now, I know you could also make an argument that part of that's because those systems are hard to find. But you would still, the fact that it hasn't made like any sort of dent, and the fact that Switch sold well last year when really you could say it was a slow year. I mean, they had Animal Crossing, they had Age of Calamity, but overall, not a lot of big games. Animal Crossing, I'd say, was the one big game, but there wasn't a Mario, there wasn't like a huge popular new IP, there wasn't a Zelda, anything like that. But when you look at Nintendo this year, you could very well be looking at Breath of the Wild 2 coming out. I'm thinking holiday 2021. There are some rumors that Breath of the Wild 2 could be quarter 2, but I kind of feel like if it was quarter 2, meaning kind of around the summertime to late spring, I kind of feel like we would have more, but that's basically spring actually, because when quarter 2 would be more, well, that'd be April, May, and June. So yeah, that's spring really. Unless you're talking about late June, then you're getting just into summer. But if that was the case, I think we'd have more details about Breath of the Wild 2. But either way, I think it could very well be coming out this year. And so when Breath of the Wild 2 comes out, obviously with how well Breath of the Wild 1 did and the hype now for Breath of the Wild 2, that's going to be a gigantic game, and I think it'll sell Switches pretty darn well. And if it does come out this year with a game that big, I think it'll make a big enough impact that even in 2022, you'll still have a lot of people that will be buying a Switch for that game. So because of that, if it comes out this year, I don't see Switch sales falling off really at all until 2023, maybe even later. If it comes out next year, kind of the same thing. And you might also get some other games this year. And the reason I say Nintendo's due for a lot is because when you look at their, actually I'll just kind of go into, rather than doing a separate video on what could possibly come out this year, I am going to do a separate video perhaps on Zelda. But when you look at Nintendo this year, not only is Breath of the Wild 2 perhaps going to come out this year, you could very well get a Switch Pro. Kind of feel like they're due for one. You also, in a sense, we're kind of overdue for a new 3D Mario game of some type, Mario Odyssey 2 perhaps, or something else. Because it's been a while since we've had a 3D Mario now. And the team that made Mario Odyssey, I believe, has not done anything since then. And considering that late this year, it'll be 4 years since Mario Odyssey came out, I kind of feel like they're due for something. Even if it's not out this year, I feel like they're due to at least announce a new 3D Mario or something, even if it comes out, say, in 2022. You still have Metroid Prime 4, which Metroid Prime 4 has never been a huge franchise, but at the same time, a lot of people have been asking for it, so I kind of feel like a Metroid Prime 4 could kind of blow up in a sense and do way better than any other Metroid Prime game in terms of sales. The people that made Splatoon 2 and ARMS, I believe, or like the same people, they haven't done anything since those games, which has been several years, so they're kind of due for a game. So you're kind of due for Breath of the Wild 2, new 3D Mario, either like a Splatoon 3 or ARMS 2 or new IP or something by that same studio. So there's just a lot going for Nintendo. And so the combination of the fact that it's outpacing basically PS5 or PS4 so far, and the fact that the Nintendo still looks like they have a lot left in the tank for releases this year and even perhaps 2022. I just don't see Switch sales falling off until at least 2023. And if that's the case, by around 2023, like the beginning of 2023, you could be looking at perhaps the Switch at being at like 120 million already going into that year. And even if it then does drop off some, it's not going to completely like plummet to the point where it doesn't sell anything at all. So you could make a case that the low ball, I'd say, for the Switch on sales could be 120 to like 130 million, and it could even get higher, just kind of depending on how well does the Switch sell with like Breath of the Wild 2 out, and also just like how long does the support last on the Switch. Are we going to get like a Switch 2 or whatever they're going to call it in 2023 or something, or will we get it in 2024 or 2025? I don't know. I'd say probably the soonest we could see a Switch 2, like a real next gen Nintendo version rather than like a Switch Pro, I'd probably say it's 2023, because I just feel like there's too many things left still for Nintendo to release this year and next, to the point where it wouldn't really make sense to release a new console in 2022 when you still have enough big games on the Switch in 2023 or in 2022. It would make more sense to wait till at least 2023 rather than releasing, like I said, when you still have a lot of big games left on the Switch, because the thing with technology is it always gets cheaper. If you could wait till, say, 2023 instead of 2022 or even 2024 come out the Switch 2, the technology is going to get a little bit cheaper, and it'll be more affordable to come out with whatever sort of power you want, and keeping the system at, say, $300, or even if you want to go up to 400 type of thing. But yeah, that's basically this video. Comments below. Thanks for watching as always. And I'm just wondering, what would you guys say is kind of the baseline for the Switch in terms of its sales by the end of its lifetime? I'm thinking 120 is like the low, but realistically, probably 130 plus will be what it gets to. And it's just going to be interesting, because when you look at both PlayStation 4 and what it's sold and now how the Switch is performing, they're both performing very well. And it's just going to be interesting when they're both kind of dead. What will both of their final numbers look like? Because they're both going to be up there when it comes to all-time selling consoles. And then the question will be, well, how well will the Switch 2 or whatever Nintendo's going to call it next, how well will it sell? Will it be just as successful as the Switch, or will it fall off quite a bit, or kind of between maybe, the middle, kind of between falling off a ton versus like doing quite as well as PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5 is off to a great start. I think it could very well outsell the PlayStation 4 for a few reasons. But yeah, I think both will end up pretty high. But yeah, I'm in this video and start a different video. As like I said, I'm doing a few videos on some important things before I'm going to stream Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and see if I can finish that out today. And then maybe I'll start God of War 2018 or something. I haven't tried it on PS5 yet since the patch came out a couple days ago. And I only did beat that game once, God of War 2018. So I kind of been wanting to replay it. But at the same time, I kind of want to also get back into playing more of what I was playing, which was Immortals Gods Among Us, because it's a really good game. So yeah, thank you